Hey, Tyler, ESPN. You guys just had, a very long, draining series versus Boston, and in about 2 hours' time, you'll be going into a series against London. How confident from, 1 to 100% are you in beating London, and, how confident are you that you can take the entire thing?
There's no speck of doubt. I think if we play our game, we will beat London. I'm confident.
I think it's good for us because we have a ton of momentum. Rematching against a team that you just beat, very, very recently it's very hard for them. They're going to be coming into this match feeling like they have to change something. They feel like what they practiced isn't enough. There's no way they had time to make really significant adjustments. So it's going to be on us to adapt throughout the series. I have no doubt they're going to come back, harder than they did last time, and with new strategies prepared. But I think given the time frame, it puts us in a really good spot.
Hey, I'm Sam from OverwatchScore.com. Great win. Best case scenario, we've got 2 more matches today. What's the plan for kind of resting, recuperating, staying loose for the upcoming matches?
For me, it's just about keeping the energy level low. When you're not playing, right now it's kind of weird. You come off stage, just like insanely high energy. You just gave everything to try and win that series. And now we just have to, be very relaxed because we do have a long day ahead, that we're planning to win it all. You have to come planning to win it all. I think every single team in the playoffs is planning to win it all. So for us, it's just about maintaining that consistent, constant energy level and being ready to pick it back up for both in our next series. I think on the one hand, it's exhausting. You play all day. But on the other hand, it is pretty tough to be New York Excelsior, who plays early in the morning and then doesn't play at all until, the very end of the day. That's, I would argue, even a worse position. So I think it kind of benefits us in a way.
Justin from the Overwatch League recap. You guys took down London this past Thursday, 3-1, pretty decisively. What do you think the factor was in today's performance versus Boston? And would you say that London was an easier opponent than them?
I think Boston's play style is something that no one else plays in the league. The way their tanks play is like a night and day to any other tank in the league, and that causes a lot of problems to any team. And there are some maps where it's way harder to deal with what they do, but I think that's the key part. Like their tanks, how they play around them is the deciding factor how you go against them, basically.
Yeah, I should add on to that. It's basically what they do differently is just their tanks are just very good at hiding and getting dives from like unseen spots. I think Boston probably has the best dive in the league, and I think it just relies so much on their tanks just being so aware and so good at like finding spots to engage, and then their DPS just consistently giving them such good calls on like where we are, so that their tanks are actually able to blind engage on us.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, it's clear that their teamwork is just on a very, very high level. I think you definitely have to give a ton of respect to Boston. They're an incredibly strong team. I think next stage, I expect really big things from them because it's clear with the style that they're playing that they're really relying on that coordination and that communication. You have tanks in the position where they cannot see anything. They're in, arguably an irrelevant position. Their only purpose is when that call is made, they're going to execute and they're going to trust their teammates. And that style you can only play with a very high level of trust, a very high level of communication. So, I have a ton of respect for them. I think it's really awesome to see them play, and I think that was an insanely close series. There's should be nobody sleeping on Boston anymore.
Hey, Chris from USA Today. You guys have 3 potential matches today. How are you guys going to prepare, or can you even prepare for the next 2 matches, especially not knowing kind of until today what your opponent was going to be, or if you were going to be in? Do you feel, the follow-up on that is do you feel like the time between the matches and all being on the same day is a little too short?
I mean, preferably the playoffs wouldn't be on the same day, but it's when it comes to preparing, like we knew it's going to be on the same day, and when it comes to preparing, a lot of the hard work goes to the coaches, and like they basically watch everything that the teams have done, and they brief us of like what we need to just keep in mind. We have played against these teams this season, we have practiced against them, so we have somewhat idea how we should play against them, but coaches will give us like new information and like see how we play today and like what we need to change to just improve quickly today, basically.
And I think, this is something that Kumat, our teammate, says a lot, is that everyone has the same tools. It's just a question of who uses them better. And I think that very much applies to a day like this where, everybody has a tough schedule. Everybody has a schedule that they haven't had before. everyone's unprepared for it. So I think this, today kind of asks a new question. Instead of, which team can win one series, it's, which teams have the endurance to, play a long day and to, keep that high energy level for a long day. So I think there's a little bit of uniqueness to playoffs in that sense.
Hi, Matt Fernandez from Variety. I just wanted to know what you guys think about with the rise in popularity of esports. What about the possibility of seeing esports in the 2024 Olympics as a medaling event? And what, if anything, do you think is preventing esports from being considered in the same way as traditional sports are?
I mean, I think that's a question that's asked a lot. It's been asked for a long time. It was being asked in like StarCraft 2. But I think the reality is that, if you want to see the highest level of competition in a game, you can find that. It's there. And, I think the Olympics brings that highest level of competition for a lot of sports that maybe don't have that unifying league. But the way I see it is the Olympics is sort of, I'm sure it'd be interesting. I'm sure it'd be cool to compete, in sort of national competition in a video game. But I also think the Olympics needs esports more really than esports needs the Olympics. I think we're already, building it out ourselves. Esports is so, grassroots, so ground up, and to see a developer like Blizzard really take charge to create the highest level of competition for their game, I think the question is, if the Olympics is really interested, then surely it could happen. But I don't think it really is needed for the future of esports.
Hi, my name's Nick. I'm from Inven. This is actually a question for you. Amuma, you said that you had one of the best games of your life. This is some of the best play you've ever done. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Maybe, some details.
I think that knowing how different Boston is, knowing how different Boston is from the other teams, I also have to approach it from a different level. I know that their tanks are always going to be hiding, and it's really important for their DPS to continue to give like fluid calls to their actual tank line so that they can actually partake in that like deep dive without their tanks being able to spot it. So if I'm able to abuse their DPS while they're trying to spot, it just gives us a huge advantage, because if I'm fighting their DPS consistently, they are like really struggling to be able to give those consistent calls to the tanks. So when they do end up diving, they're a little bit more disjointed and their DPS aren't as ready, and then that's my cue that I can go kill their supports, because I know that like their tanks are only listening to their DPS and their tanks are just only trying to jump on our backline. So when I can force them to do that, that's my cue to just like their supports are free because they just dove.
I think one thing was, we oftentimes we're trying to like sort of rein Muma in because he's a very, very aggressive player. He knows that with his skill level that he can just take a game over, and if they make one misstep, he can just completely run them out of the game. So a lot of times we're trying to say, well, let's just chill out a little bit. Let's all go together. Like, well, I know you can solo kill their supports, but let me be there too. Yeah. I want the kill credit. But so I think as the series went on, we kind of adapted to their very defensive tank style by unleashing Mumu, letting him play 100% his game, and I think this series really showed what that's like. It's not fun to play against.
I think my favorite call in our team and the most like useful one is just chill Muma. Just chill. Just chill, dude. Dude, chill. You gotta like stop. Chill, man.
I think this was one of those games where like I had to chill and Muma just had to go ham.
Yeah.
Chill, Linkster.
Yeah, I kept like going too far, and then like the tank position punished me heavily. But it basically meant that Muma can do what he wants, but I need to chill.
Yeah. When we adjusted to that was when we realized that what we needed to change was like, since Linkster was just getting blind dive, if he just plays further back, it makes it a lot harder for their tanks to jump on him, which means it just opens up so much more space for me to go on the back line.
We kind of rotate our roles about who needs to be performing which role in the team. You need somebody attacking them. You can't be a fully defensive team at any point, because then you have no way back into the fight when they take control. But deciding who that is and who that should be at a given moment in a given fight, I think is what makes Overwatch so exciting. Every team, every player has a dynamic role. Every, like the adaptations we're able to make, I think are really indicative of what makes Overwatch so amazing. That you can be a tank player, a Winston player. It can be played in an insanely defensive style, the way Boston likes to play it, where they're really passive. They're waiting for the right moment before they go. Or you can be played as like more of aggressive in a scouting role, in a playmaking role. And I think that those subtle differences between teams really make me excited about Overwatch, because there's a clear style that develops. A clear. It's like watching StarCraft. Even though very many players are on the same race, they look so different. Their strategies look so different. Everything, it comes out, and it's really clear their personality in their play. And I think we get to see Muma's in his play and a lot of ours too.
Hey, Tyler again. I don't think any team has been more polarizing to the fans this stage than the Houston Outlaws. I mean, you guys came in with a lot of one of the only top teams without any Korean players on it. Got a lot of respect from the Ryu Jae Hong. Everyone's like, oh, are they memeing, joking? You guys started at 0-2. Then you guys have pulled yourself back 7-1 in your last 8 games. And is there just anything you want to say to the haters who just kind of were just kind of looking down on you guys, saying you guys can't do well, and
Thank you.
I mean,
Like I said, quote that.
I want to see if, I,
Hey there, guys. Adam from Action Esports. So this series was incredible, and congratulations, first of all. But Lijiang Tower specifically, each and every player on your team had a really cool moment, a really cool highlight. Muma, you said you had one of the best series ever, and Cool Matt tore off on the Zarya. Each of you guys played incredibly well. Who would you say was the MVP of your team for this match?
Muma.
I think for the overall match, Muma. But I think what continues to excite me about this team is that, those moments where I'm like, oh my God, my play is getting shut down. I'm completely failing. I'm feeding. Like, I'm going to be the reason we lose. I've never played on a team before in any esport or any game that every single player on the team will open the game up if that's what needs to happen. Every single player on the team has the core skill and the intelligence to outsmart their opponents and outplay their opponents and make things happen. So when we go down one, I don't feel any, I'm not worried. All I feel is determination. We have to let's go, let's bring it back. How do we get back into the game? And I think that everyone on the team thinks that way. Everybody on the team, and that doesn't stop. Banny is ready to make plays if he has to make plays on Mercy. And I think he even made a really clutch play on Lijiang to save the map or keep us in at 99 on Gardens. But I think what's really awesome is that to me, it very rarely feels like one player really carried the series. It always feels like I'm getting insane support from Linkser, from Coolmat, from Muma, from both of our supports. Like, everybody is making plays. And I think that's what makes it so hard to play against, is you can't just say, I'm going to focus Linkser. We can't just say, I'm going to focus Coolmat. You have to deal with the whole team, and you have to just out-strategize us, outplay us in the long game. We won't be focused.
I know they both just said me, but I'd like to give serious credit to actually the both of them. I think choosing the MVP, I would honestly give it to either Jake or Linkser, because I don't think we would have won the game without the adjustments that Jake helped Linkser made. Going into Ilios, we were really struggling. Linkser seemed we said that we don't know exactly what to do, and Jake took over for a moment, and it empowered us and just told us what to do and microed us a little bit, and then we started beating them again, and we were realizing that hey, we're still in this series, and that I feel like it woke Linkser up, and then he just unleashed the rest of the series. It was dirty how much he did.
It was.
So I think that was it was a really good on Jake to step up and take that leadership role and just remind us that hey, we're better than them.
In this team, I feel like I can be weak as a player for a moment, because I know my team will always pick me up. I don't think anyone in the team should be afraid to say that they're not doing something right, or they're making misplays. The moment you speak up and you trust your teammates to pick you back up, that's when you win. That's when you know you're in a winning team.
Two more questions. Hey, Andres from Omnic Lab. Since the beginning of the league, we've seen you guys improved a lot and in your strategy, and I'm just curious to know, in your practice regime, are you guys trying to come up with the same strategy and improve it over time, change it depending on the situations that they face, or are you trying to diversify a little bit? We've seen you bring out the Tracer, for example, in this past few games. We see you guys trying to do a couple of different things like dive, which you were not known for in the past. How's been the practice for all of those?
Sometimes we are not really sure what we are doing.
But that's our strength, I think.
We've got to be a really hard team to play against on match day.
I think we are incredibly good at adapting on stage, and we practice these things on in practice and scrims, and then on match day, like we really can play anything. Like even if we haven't been scrimming something, I think that being able to adjust on the fly and say like, oh, their dive is really good. We're really good at being defensive against dive. Let's stop running dive and let's focus more on that counter dive. I think that we're really, really good at that. The quick adjustments on stage in high pressure situations, and I think that's something that really helps us in our scrims because we kind of just have to focus on scrimming everything because we're just so ready to unleash whatever is needed on stage.
I think to add to that, it's just like, like for teams trying to scout us, it must be hell because, it's like we've literally never practiced that strat and we just run it in the game day. We're not scared. I think that comes also from a really deep level of trust among the team, and that extends beyond just the starting six that you see on the field at this stage. I think what's really, really impressed me about the team beyond just our gameplay has been that every single player on the roster is contributing. Even these players you still haven't seen in the stage one are huge parts of this team, and like they're there day after day in practice, helping us, making sure everyone is ready to play their game, making sure they're ready to step up if someone's sick. I think very few teams could have done what we did in terms of stepping up with Linkser out and a game day sub from Clockwork who just has to fill somebody else's shoes that he's never prepared for. I think that things like that really make me excited about this team, make me really want, or make me really trust everybody because I know that everybody is that committed. The six you see most days, but all the way down to every single player on the roster, our coaching staff, there's a lot of trust on this team.
We're over time. Anyone else who hasn't had the chance to ask a question yet?
Sorry, this is my fault.
Yeah.
Typical
Okay,
Jake.
all right. We got to let you guys go.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Thank you, guys.